Hey guys, it's Jen with 2Ns. Welcome back to part 2 of my Christmas Mani. Part 1 I did the Santa hat on my thumb, and for part 2 I will do Santa's buckle on my middle finger. I did do a swatch for this one, kind of an important one. I didn't want to mess it up, so usually I just go with it, but I wanted to make sure I got it just right. I am using Rocky Mountain Dip Powders liquids and Double Dip's Cherry of Love for the red, which by the way I think is an amazing red, and then I am using Barbara from Revel, which is the black. I always start every mani with a peel base, UNT or UNT, however you pronounce it. One of these days I will ask them. But we'll start with the peel base, and once the peel base is completely dry, then we'll get started. But I'm going to speed up the video so you don't have to watch paint dry. Get it? I'm probably laughing a little harder than I should at that one, but it's kind of cracking me up. So I'm super excited about this tutorial. Santa's buckle turned out so cute, but I did something a little bit different. So let me try to explain it without confusing anybody and myself, because it's a little confusing, but it's actually quite simple once you think about it. So I put peel base on my nails. I put it on before every manicure, as I mentioned. Well, I also used tape for the color blocking on my finger. I did not want to put the tape on the fresh layer of peel base, so I had to do another layer of clear. So I always start my nails always have a layer of clear on it before I do the peel base anyway. So I just did another layer, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. So that's all I'm doing here, is just putting that layer of clear over my peel base so that I can polish it and get it all nice and pretty for the actual dip and get it prepared for the tape. Because of course I did try to put tape over it without polishing it, but the tape just doesn't stick. You have to buff your nail after you do any kind of dip if you want the tape to stick. Now this step was very important. I was using alcohol to try to get the activator off. As we all know, activator can ruin top coats. Well, it also can ruin your base coat. I did learn that the hard way a while back. So just that's all I was doing, was just getting all the activator off so that I could continue on with my application. So like I mentioned, I'm using Scotch tape. I am just blocking the color out. I tried many different ways to try to get his buckle, to try to get the result that I wanted, and this was definitely the easiest. I did try just dipping it straight in, because you can certainly color block that way by dipping into the different colors. But the problem I had was my edges were not, I couldn't get them to be crisp and smooth and straight enough, really. I just didn't like the result. I didn't like how it came out. So I used tape. The key and the trick there is to make sure that your tape is completely smooth and you don't have any holes, because if you do, your liquid will seep underneath the tape, and then powder will ultimately stick onto wherever the liquid is. So the whole reason for using tape, which is to get crisp lines, is then null and void, and it doesn't work because your powder is all over the place anyway. And one more thing to mention also, make sure that your lines are straight, because there's nothing worse than thinking you're doing the lines nice and straight and you have a crooked belt. So keep that in mind as well. So for this, instead of pouring the powder or dipping my finger in, I laid my finger flat. I did find that this way of application was a lot smoother also. That way I didn't get extra powder on the tape. It worked very well. And then of course take your orange stick or your toothpick and clean up your cuticle edges as always, and dust off the excess powder. So typically during an application, I do 2 or 3 layers, but for this one, I only did 1 layer of color, and it was completely fine. I think probably because I also used the tape and just the design or whatever, but 1 layer was completely fine. It is a little bit tricky to take the tape off. So lesson learned, if you use tape, try not to let the ends touch each other because they will stick together, and that's what happened here. So I had to get my tweezers and try to get the tape to unstick from each other. But once it came undone, it was fine. You want to pull the tape off slowly, but also straight up. You don't want to pull your powder off with the tape. So it might take you some practice. It's really simple if you know what you're doing, if you know how to do it, but just slow and, slow and steady wins the race. And then after you get the tape off, if you need to do any more rearranging or moving any of the powder, you can do that with an orange stick too, like I just did there. We're going to do the same thing for the top of the belt. This is even more important to make sure that not only is your line straight, but it's even with with the bottom part of the belt, because you will see it because we're using black. It's going to be very obvious if your line is crooked. If you have to pull the tape off and redo it, do it. No matter how many times it takes, make sure you get it right. Because I will promise you, you will notice it. You might be the only one who notices it, but it will bother you. All right, so this part is a little bit tricky just because you really want to make sure that you don't get any liquid on any of your skin, but you also don't want to get any liquid on the red part that we already did, because wherever the liquid is, that's where the powder is going to stick. So not only do you want to make sure that you don't go onto your skin or on the powder, you want to make sure that you get all of your nail. So it just takes a little bit of tediousness, I guess, maybe attention paying. I don't know. But anyways, make sure that you have enough liquid on there, but not liquid on your skin. And I did the same thing here where I just laid my finger into the powder and then tapped it off. It looks scary when you first pull your finger out. You think, oh my gosh, I have black on the red. It's fine. Your as long as your dip was dry from your first layer, then you'll be fine. And then you do the same thing when you pull the tape off. Pull it off very slowly and pull it straight up. And then for the top part, this was the easiest part, obviously, because it's mostly nail. I didn't have to really worry about my skin because my nail was grown past it, and then it just was easier. So put the layer of base, and then for this one, I did just dip my finger into the powder. I didn't worry about laying it or pouring it. I just dipped it like normal. Something else that you could do if you were color blocking with tape is you can activate each color that you do. And sometimes, if depending on what color you're using, you might want to do that just to protect it from whatever other color you're using. For example, if I was using a white powder for the bottom, I would probably want to activate it so that when I dipped it into the black didn't stain my white, although it might anyway, but you get the point. You can certainly activate each layer, and then of course you can file and polish it if you want to. It depends on how intricate your design is, but for the purposes of this tutorial, and since we are only doing 2 different colors, it wasn't necessary, I didn't think. And I know I keep saying polish. My day job, I work in a body shop, so whenever we need to buff or polish a car, that's just what is in my head. So whenever I say polish, that's what I mean is buff with a buffing block. After that is done, then you want to actually encapsulate the entire nail in clear. So just like normal, use a layer of base coat and then dip your finger into the clear powder. You do want to be exceptionally careful because you may have red or black powder still on your finger anywhere. So if you are going to dip it, please understand that you could potentially contaminate your clear powder. So just be careful. You can do the pour over method, or if you just wipe your finger, then you should be okay. A trick that I like to use is alcohol and a lint-free wipe, which I get from Amazon. But if you just dip it into the alcohol, then you can wipe your finger and get all of that excess powder off. It really does help that for any kind of color staining. If you are going to dip into the clear or anything else, just getting that red off of your finger, because red is very, very pigmented and it will stain whatever it touches. So Alcohol is your friend when you use red or black even. And then we are going to buff our nail. Make sure you get the side walls and the edge. Always, always, always don't forget those. Very important. But you want to make it smooth. Buffing is really important because it really will make the difference between an amazing manicure and just a okay manicure. The smoother your nail is, the better it's going to look. After I used my dust brush, I did go rinse my hand just to get all the extra powder off, anything that was left over, because the next step is the nail tape. So I wanted to make sure that it was completely free of any dust or debris or particles of anything that shouldn't be there. So I used a jelly stamper, my jelly stamper from Maniology. They actually just had a sale, so I bought a new one. So this is my brand new one. That's why it was a little difficult to open for me. But I have discovered a life hack, really, truly. Stay tuned and you'll find out. But I used my tweezers to pull open the nail tape because I have not used this roll before. It's a brand new roll. So I pulled off as much as I was going to need, more extra, I'm sure, but cut off a piece big enough that I would be able to cut my pieces. It's a little bit difficult to make sure that you have even pieces. So what I did was I cut a size and then I laid it on my finger and I put the rest of the tape right underneath it, as you can see. So that way I was able to see what size I needed to cut. It obviously wasn't perfect because I didn't use a measuring tape or anything or a ruler, but it was as close as I was going to get it without using any kind of a tool. So it was a nice little life hack I discovered. So also, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I cut my pieces too big at first, so I had to do it twice. Yes. So I did this whole process and then I redid it, but that's okay. I knew it was going to drive me crazy if I didn't fix it. So I fixed it. I'm just going to let you guys watch here for a little bit without me yapping your ear off. So enjoy and I'll be back. All right, so this part took me a little bit longer, only because I was trying to make it perfect, and you do want it to be perfect because this is the buckle. So I was trying to make it a perfect square, but in this world, nothing is perfect. So once I realized that I wasn't going to make it perfect when I was just putting it on there, then it got a little bit easier. And you see I dropped a piece there. It took me forever to find it. I cut the part out of the video. I was seriously looking for it for 30 seconds. I had no idea where it went. What I didn't realize though is you actually can move the tape on the stamper head, but you want to be very, very careful because it is so delicate. You don't want to pierce your stamper with whatever tool you're using. So just be very careful. The process itself was pretty simple. You just have to be very careful. And here is the redo buckle. You can see it is a little bit smaller than the last frame, than the last clip I just had. So I had already done a full buckle, put it on my nail. It was too big, so I redid it, and now here we are. Now, something else that I did not do, so I'm going to tell you, I'm going to try to save you from not doing this. I forgot to put the actual buckle in there, you know, the little buckle piece, the piece that goes through the holes. I had to do that down the road, which you will see in the video, but if you added it to this step, then you're just that much closer to being done. So don't forget to do that here. The nice thing about jelly stampers is you can turn it around and see what you're actually looking at, and during the application you can see exactly where you're putting it. So, life hack number 2 in this video. Amazing. And I have to admit that I did not actually come up with this. I did see it on one of Kate's Corners videos. She was doing it with water decals, with a water slide. So, the water slide decal, I should say. So I thought, why can't I try it with nail tape? So hats off to Kate's Nail Corner. Thank you for the idea, sister. So anyways, once you are done pressing your design firmly onto your nail, we're going to do another layer of base coat because now we are going to encapsulate our design in clear powder. And again, remember that I forgot to put the actual buckle in my buckle. So hopefully you did not forget to do that. I did dip my finger in there, but that is because I made sure that I didn't have any extra red on my finger. Make sure you don't have any red powder on your finger if you're going to dip into your clear. Dust it off, and here is where I realized I didn't put the buckle in. So you can see me go in there with my tweezers, and I'm putting it on there, and then I go back in and I just do the layer of clear over it. So it all worked out in the end, but again, if I can save you any time, I will. I will always try to tell you where I messed up so that you won't mess up in the same way. As my teenage daughter would say, I got you, fam. Even though I don't think that makes any sense. It's what the cool people are saying these days, I guess. So anyways, here we are. So again, this would have been just a regular layer of clear had I not forgotten to put in the buckle, but it makes a huge difference after I put it in there. Now it looks like Santa's belt. Make sure that you go in and activate it, because if you recall, activating is what hardens the nail so that you can go in and file it and buff it. If you forget to activate it, well, then you will know because you won't be able to file it. I did go in with my e-file. Of course, it's not necessary. You can always go in with a hand file, and I'm not going to make you watch it, but I just wanted to kind of show you how I did this. I was just cleaning up my cuticle area just to make it a little bit softer around the edge and crisp, I should say, not soft, but make it a little bit more even and blending in, if that makes sense. So just went around my cuticle area. I won't make you watch it. I'm actually gonna get ready to cut it off here in a minute. So, well, not a minute, but a few seconds. And this is another reason that encapsulating it in a clear is good, because it does protect our design from filing. After I had my cuticle edge the way that I wanted, nice and rounded out and smoothed out, then I did go in with a hand file and I finished shaping my nail, because once you have dip powder on it, even if you did shape your nail before, the dip powder just kind of builds up on it, and so you lose the definition of the nail. So that's what I did. And then of course take a buffer block to it when you're done, and make sure that you get it smooth as heck. You want to make sure it's really, really smooth, because this is going to be your final product. You will feel your nail. So the smoother the better. And then brush off the excess powder and go wash your hands. I do use soap, but I don't let the soap touch my nail. Once you come back, make sure your hands are dry, and then do your second round of activator. The second round of activator is important because it just ensures that all of the activator kind of soaked down through all of the layers. Wait for 2 minutes for the activator to dry, and then take a lint-free cloth. Again, I got it from Amazon. And your alcohol. Also got the alcohol bottle from Amazon. I just put my own alcohol in it. And then wipe your nail. We are just trying to get all of the rest of the activator off of our nail. For anything that's left over, we don't want our top coat to touch the activator. So make sure that you get it all off, and then take a dry lint-free cloth. Oh my gosh, I couldn't think of what the word was. Take a dry lint-free cloth and then wipe the rest of your nail dry. And now it is time for the top coat. So for your first layer, you want to go in as quickly as you can. Really, you're just trying to get that layer on there. Just slap it on quickly. Wipe your brush, because if there is any activator left over on your nail, it's now on your brush. And then you put it into your bottle, and then your top coat is contaminated. So always, always, always wipe your brush. Before you go in for your second coat, you want to make sure that it's ready. You can tell if the first layer is ready because it looks like it's starting to shrink around your nail. So you know how shrink wrap looks? That's what your top coat is going to look like when it's ready for the second coat. And for the second coat, then you can take your time, make sure that you're more detailed, get every part of the nail, and always make sure that you cap your edge as well. And we are almost done. I think it is super, super cute. I think it really turned out well. I love this, actually. Part 2 of Christmas Mani, Santa's Buckle, along with Santa's hat. I think it made the perfect Christmas Mani. But the last and final step, as we know, hopefully you know if you've been to my channel before, is after your top coat is dry, it's time to show your cuticles some love. Always, always, always show your cuticles some love. You beat them up, you file them, you don't take care of them, we dry them out. Show them some love, let them know that you still care for them, and soak those bad boys in cuticle oil. I am using Candi Skincare Cotton Candy. It's amazing. It smells so good. I love it. I probably use more than I should, but I don't care. I love to use my cuticle oil. So, use your cuticle oil. That's all I'll say about that. And there we have it, friends. Christmas Mani Part 2 complete, Santa's Buckle. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time. Merry Christmas.